Little boy with a heart of steel. He can't move me now, but it's just so weird. Feel good music. I've been told.
Hey guys, just a little bit here, let it populate in. Thought we'd start with some music today, just brighten everybody's spirits. This is generally the first weekend of Jazz Festival in New Orleans, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big live music fan and big fan of New Orleans, and I know they're having a tough time down there with the COVID as well with their numbers. So I thought we'd give a little shout out to New Orleans and play the meters to kind of pick us up a little bit, right? I think one of the things for me that I miss most of all is live music in this. And we'll be back to it soon enough. So for now, I've been kind of living on the Facebook Live things from people's living rooms and just playing some, a lot of Apple Music. But I thought we'd start with a little music today. I think music usually makes everybody feel better, right? I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe and continuing to shelter in place. There's a couple things we're going to do today. First is we're going to give a COVID update. As with every week, we have been seeing, things changing rapidly, both in the human and the animal world. So, and this week has been no different at all. So we're going to start with an update on COVID. And then today we're going to be discussing chews and treats in our animals. Just some thoughts on them, safety, and just kind of going over a general overview of that. So we'll get to that. But the first thing we're going to do today is we'll talk about a COVID update. Just before we start, I just, again, want to say welcome to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is our 5th Ask Our Vet series. I'm Dr. Kris, for those of you who don't know. And each week we're kind of adding in a little something different. I've tried to add something new to the set in Southport every week. I think what's new this week, we had the flowers last week, but then if you see behind me, we have the Earth Animal Truckers hats. I'll tell you, I was thinking that I think they would make an excellent Mother's Day gift for any, usually you might send your mom or your wife and get them, a gift card or something to the salon. But since we can't do that, maybe a nice Earth Animal Trucker hat, For me, I'm coming very close to having to wear one all the time. So just a thought, just a gift thought for anybody out there. I think it'll work. Oh, hi, Pamela. You're welcome. Kiss all the dogs for me and say hi. The other thing too, Michael, Cody, I miss you as well. I just want to show you, Michael, that as I was looking around the office, when I'm the only one here, I was looking around the office, I also found your popcorn on your desk, and I'm going to take it because you can't come in to get it, and I just decided I'm going to take it. So I'm going to eat it after the broadcast here, and I will be thinking of you. So thank you for that. All right, let's talk about COVID. So I think probably a lot of you this week have read the news. Last week we talked about how they just had discovered that a tiger at the Bronx Zoo had gotten it, and at that point they hadn't tested anybody's pets, cats or dogs in the US had not come up positive. Well, that changed this week, okay? 2 cats in upstate New York were tested and found to be positive with the CoV-2, the virus that causes the COVID. The good news in it is that both the cats, separate households, not related, but both the cats had mild symptoms and mild respiratory symptoms and were not, it didn't seem to pose a significant threat to them. What I will say about this is a couple things. It does make sense that if if a wild feline did contract it, that it does make sense that certainly some of the domestic felines could get the virus. What they're saying now is also that they have tested a lot of animals that have come up negative. So right now they're not recommending routine testing across the board. They're recommending a lot of what we have already discussed over the last few weeks, which is just things have changed a little bit, right? So if you are sick confirmed with the coronavirus, or or you're suspected to have it, not only do you have to social distance from your friends and your family, but also your pets. If you are alone and you cannot social distance from your pets, then you have to take all precautions necessary. Constantly wear a mask, wear gloves if you can when you're feeding or handling them. Make sure that you take all the precautions in washing your own hands. And so, you know, right now they're not saying that we should do widespread testing. There has been obviously only a couple that we have confirmed of all that they have done testing, over the last couple of weeks. So we'll have to watch as this develops. The likelihood is we probably will hear some more of these cases, I would think. I think obviously this has only been in cats, so we don't know about dogs yet. But I think the same applies, with not only do you take the precautions with your cats, but just in an abundance of caution, you do it with your dogs as well. And I think that also comes down to, again, what we've been saying week to week, which is when you're out walking your dogs, really you have to practice social distancing. You don't want strangers petting your animals and things. We always want to err on the side of caution. We want to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that honestly, this is something that if we all continue to do what we're doing, we'll limit the numbers of the cases in people and animals too. So I think we have to do that. But again, these two cats had very mild signs, and we haven't had any other reports of any positives yet. I will continue to monitor this. We'll bring it to you weekly. But right now, they do not recommend widespread testing, and it's not something that we're going to be doing in the near future unless something else changes. Okay. So, and I think that as we talk about people too, we are seeing that what this social distancing and this quarantine practice we're doing is flattening out these curves, and it is working. And I know, and I'm like everybody else, there are days where, obviously you can be down during this, and you just have to try to have a positive outlook and say, and visualize a light at the end of this tunnel. And yeah, it could be longer than we suspected. And it could, it may continue to get a little worse before it gets better, but we're seeing it work, and we're seeing it work on a widespread, across the board. So I think we just have to be patient and continue. You have to social distance. You have to follow the guidelines of each state that you're in, and listen to the governors and on their weekly and daily updates, and listen to them when they say everybody. I still see people out. I still see people in stores that walk into stores without masks. You can't do that. There are a lot of, if you don't have any, there are tips that you can, or at least facial coverings. There are tips that are out there on how to make, coverings, make masks. I think it's very important. And, there's tips out there how to make your own sanitizer. And so I think that it is really, really important, not only now for us and for our loved ones and for the healthcare workers and all the essential workers, but I think it's really important it's important for our animals as well. So let's just continue to all work together as one, and we're going to beat this. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience, but it'll happen. It will happen. So that's it for COVID this week. One of the other things, one of the other segments that I wanted to introduce this week is I thought it would be good once a week to just kind of talk about one of somebody in our Earth animal family, and talk about what I call my Earth animal of the week. Okay, something interesting, something heartwarming, something that can kind of give us all a smile. So, our first ever Earth animal of the week this week is, everyone see that? Waffles the pig. Waffles was rescued by one of my technicians, and he was born with some physical things. He's got some muscular problems in his back legs. He was very stunted growth wise, so he definitely and he needed a home. So one of the technicians adopted him, and I've been lucky enough now for a few weeks to have him in and out of the clinic. And I have to tell you that we did have to neuter him this week. One of the things I think everyone, if you know pigs, you know that they mature very quickly. And even given his physical shortcomings, he's been getting a little frisky. So we had to neuter him, and he did very well, and he continues to do well. But he has been my pet therapy for a few weeks here, and just at the end of the day, to be able to go and spend some time with him and play with him, he's a really cool little guy. So anyway, just a little shout out to Waffles. Really cool. All right. Okay, let's see if anybody's checked in here. Hi, Stephanie Ulrich. Hi, P. Pat. My mother-in-law is watching from Florida. Hi. Hi to you and Pop. Oh, so we'll do questions, Pamela. We'll do questions towards the end. So I'll circle back. All right. Yeah, some people are commenting on Waffles. Hi, Kirsten. Hi, Janae. That's great that people are tuning in. So anyway, let's talk about chews. So I thought this week we'd talk about chews and treats in animals. And I think that, and safety really overall, because it's, I think sometimes we think it's a given that if things are sold in any pet store, or you can get them online, that they're just abjectly safe for animals, and you can just give them to them, and they should do fine. And that's not the case. I think one of the things that I've always said about any companion animals is they're very predictable in their non-predictableness, right? They're not predictable at all. They absolutely I'm an absolute nut job for safety with my patients and with my own animals, and even given that, and even given trying to see 3 steps ahead, something always can happen. So I think one of the things that I want to stress in this part of it is that whatever treats or chews you give your animals, and you should always observe them and watch them while they're either playing or eating them. And I think sometimes we use it for them as pacifiers, and certainly they're great for anxiety, a lot of these different things. And we'll talk about our no hides, here in a minute. But I think, one of the keys, the takeaway to this is we never want to leave our animals alone with any sort of chew toy or treat, because you just never know. And I think the other part we're going to talk about here is knowing we call it chew IQ. You want to know what kind of chewer your particular dog is. And there's certain breeds, and I've over the years had many different breeds of dogs, and I've also had several brachycephalic dogs. And they're one of the breeds that I want to focus on today, and just say that, and for those of you who don't know, brachycephalic breeds are the scrunch-nosed dogs, right? So bulldogs, boxers, mastiffs, French bulldogs, Boston Terriers, any of the, if they don't have a long nose and their nose is scrunched, they're brachycephalic. And those dogs in particular, we want to pay, a real strong attention to when they're chewing on things for a number of reasons. And, the first of which is they have very, very strong jaws and a very high tension bite strength. So they tend to, I've had some of mine where I've gotten things in the past where they said this was a tear-proof bed, or this was, guaranteed to be tear-proof. This is a, guaranteed to be chew-proof toy, and that I've had my dogs get right through them or take pieces off of them. And so I think, it is pugs as well. Sorry, I don't want, you're absolutely right. Pugs as well. Sorry. I'm sorry, Renee. You're absolutely right. So any of the scrunch nosed dogs, and we know who they are, but they have very, very hard bite strengths, and they can easily chew through things or soften things and try. And from my experience with my dogs, they oftentimes want to chew things, soften it, and get it down. So size definitely matters when you're giving the treats. And I'm going to use, just as an example, our no hides, because I think we have done I think Earth Animal as a whole has done a very good job in talking about what they call chew school or chew IQ, and knowing your dogs, and really making sure that we have all the signage at the stores and go through it. And I know that's another reason why I wanted to talk about it today, because right now you may not be able to get into a lot of your pet stores with curbside pickup and delivery, so you may not see this signage in front of you. So I just wanted to kind of go over this just to again, to reinforce this. Okay. And so the first thing is when we talk about size matters, right? By the size of your dog, it should dictate the size of the treat that you give them. And not only, and remember, again, matching the size of the treat does not, or the chew does not always, that does not mean that you can give it to them and leave them. You should always be with them when they're chewing it. But it's, when you use, say, a small stick, and this is our no hide stick, you want the animal to, be a toy breed or a cat or a small dog. This is, up to 15 pounds. Okay. And then when you start to get into the various things, you just start raising the size, right? So the 4-inch, for example, would be in that 15 to 45 pound range. We get into the 7-inch chews and we get into the 45 to 70 pound range. And then obviously the large size, the 11-inch for the bigger dogs. Okay. I think that is really key. And so you also need to know your dog. There are dogs that will sit and chew, and their whole mission when they're chewing on these, their whole mission is to soften it and get it down. Okay. Those obviously in particular have to be very well watched. There are other dogs that will chew down, start at one end and chew down. But oftentimes with any of these chews, you have to watch because they can soften some and take a piece off. And all I'll do in that case, is I'll take it away from them. You can clip off the piece that they've gotten off and then give it back to them and continue to watch them. All right. So I think it's size. You say size definitely matters by weight and size of the dog, and also what kind of a chewer. There are some dogs that are very content to chew little tiny pieces off these and just go slowly through these. And obviously we continue to watch those as well. But those dogs, unlike the other dogs, will do these slowly. I had a bulldog that back 20 years ago that I legitimately, everything I gave her, she could eat it within minutes or take big pieces off. And I just had to watch her extremely carefully. Right. And I do think it matters, again, what chews you pick. I think it's important that when you get products, I think it's important to get products that are made in the USA. Our no hides are made right here in the USA in Pennsylvania. So I think that's very important. And I think ingredients matter as well. I think you have to look at these things. One of the benefits of our no hides is digestibility, right? They're brown rice based, okay, and they have a high digestibility as opposed to some other, regular rawhide treats and things, whereas ours is 80% digestible, you get down into the 20%, 18%. So you want to know also what's going in your animal, and you also want to know that their body is going to be able to handle it and break it down. All right. So, hi, Patty. How are you? Patty's watching in New Jersey. So it is very important. I think all these things combine. And as well, you have to watch when you get play toys for your cats. In my house, we have 3 dogs and we have 3 cats. And so we have to work a lot to maintain, our cats' toys and make sure they're put away after they're playing, because the dogs can walk around and find a little cat toy and swallow them. We have to make sure that when we're playing with the cats, some of the cat toys will have little strings or things like that. So you don't want to leave them out, that they can take them off and digest, and swallow them, because they can end up blocked or something else. I was talking to someone the other day. I mean, you would be amazed at the things that I've taken, surgically out of animals over the years, things that they eat, part of a ceramic mug I removed one time, all sorts of fishing hooks, all sorts of things. So animals a lot of times, will eat things that obviously they're not supposed to. So it's important. And my dogs want to get to those cat toys and chew on them, and they're small, and we can't let them do that because they can get into trouble. So I think that's key. And, all these things, obviously, if you want to read anything else about our chews or things like that, all the information is available on the website. All right. So you can. And I think if you take those, I think erring on the side of caution with this all the time and keeping a really close eye on them while they're doing it, which means they can still have the enjoyment, but you're going to be taking in that other risk out of it, because you never know, if you're not present, what these guys can do. Okay. So I think that's really kind of the take home on that. All right, let's take a look and see what questions we have. Pamela, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call after this, and I'll talk to you about the teeth. Okay? All right. We'll take that one offline. Emily, hi, Emily. We mentioned Emily before. Emily is a nurse, and she is on the front lines of this pandemic. So Again, I want to thank her she graduated last year. She's good friends with my daughter, and she is a nurse in this area and is working crazy hours and around the clock to help all those that are sick. So thank you, Emily, and it's good to say hi. Angel, you want waffles? I see. Well, I think that'd be tough. I can't even begin to tell you how cute. Abby, my dog loves the salmon as well, the salmon flavor. Thank you. Hi, Dominique. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so Angel brought up a good point. You know, she was talking about giving her dog a marrow bone at some point, and the bone got stuck on his teeth. And that's just something, again, sometimes you can never predict what can happen with these guys. It's just that they're very unpredictable. So I think that's a good point. But they can, again, they can get into trouble. So it's always good to watch them. Candace, say hi to Bronson for me. All right, Patty, you have a question. Patty from New Jersey asks, is it true they want to chew more if you give them chews? I think chewers, animals that are chewers. I think, if you're not giving them, you may not know how much they desire to chew if you haven't given them chews before. But they're, my dogs, I have 2 adopted dogs, and both of them love to chew. They love to chew. And so I think what it is if you see an animal that you give a chew to and they just love it, I think one, it says, well, yeah, you should give them more. I think obviously it soothes them, they get pleasure out of it, but at the same time, it probably means that all along they wanted to chew. So no, I think it's good. It's good for their teeth. It's good, kind of all around. It's good for their psyche, their well-being. So yeah, I have no problem, again, as long as they're monitored, right? All right, Candace has a question. Candace asks, what is the safest way to get something out of a dog's mouth if they are enjoying it but should not be eating it? Well, so that's a common problem, right, Candace? I know sometimes when, we're walking our dogs or they're in our backyard, or even if you drop something on the floor that they grab. I think one of the things, depending, you have to be careful when you're going in an animal's mouth because they, obviously you can get bit even if they're not trying to bite you, right? Now, the good news is oftentimes if they grab something that we drop, obviously if, God forbid, you're chopping carrots or something, they take a little tiny piece and they get it in, well, the odds are you're not going to get that. But a lot of times what we drop is something bigger and maybe hanging out each side of their mouth. And what I do is I'll go in from the outside of their teeth and try to get it out and tell them to drop it. And, sometimes they're harder than others. And I know you can't always get everything out of their mouth. Sometimes these guys are very quick. My little 12-year-old dog is an absolute ninja when it comes to stealing food. He comes in very quickly and grabs it. You hardly know he's there. And he's sometimes difficult to get it out of his mouth, but we manage to do our best. But you do your best, and I think you just have to be careful about getting bit. All right. Hi, Lindsay out in Des Moines. How are you? And hi, Luna. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Dominique, you have a question. Will chews drain their energy? No, I don't think so. I think I really don't think so at all. Now, some, again, are more vigorous chewers than others. One of my dogs, our youngest, who just turned a year old in particular, she is what you would call a vigorous chewer, right? She is just goes at these things, and she's prone to anxiety too. So I think that's part of it. But no, I don't think it will drain their energy. I think what you may be seeing as a drain in energy may just be a calmness, because I think a lot of times it does pacify them. And I think it does really calm them down. It almost gets Zen-like sometimes when you watch them chewing these things. So yeah, I think that's probably what you're perceiving. All right, Joshua, you have a question. You said, can you make a recommendation regarding adjusting a dog's caloric intake if given chews daily? Yes, I can. So one of the things that you can see, and you can find it on our website in our collaterals, is depending on the size of your dog, okay, it will show what the calories are in each of these. So let's take no hides. Okay. We do have, as what we call a healthy weight calorie information. So we have a little graph that shows each of the different chews and the sizes and what their calories are. And so what you can do is you can then, so anyway, back on the calories. So they have the calories. So, and what you can do is look at your food and see what you're feeding calorie wise and adjust it based on that. So that's a really good question. And yeah, it gets back to, obviously we want to, if we're giving our dogs treats and chews and items that have other calories in them, we do want to adjust the diet just as we would, so that we're not feeding them too much, because we do want to maintain their weight, right? So that was a great question. All right, Michael, you have a question. If my dog swallows a large chunk of a chew toy, when should I be concerned? I don't want to make any unnecessary trips to the vet if he will be okay in the end, but I don't want to wait too long either. And that's always a really topical and good question. And so the answer to that is really, it all depends what it is. All right. Obviously, if your dog eats something that's not digestible, right? Meaning a rubber toy, a piece of a rubber toy, anything that's not food-based or not digestible, then that's something you should go to the veterinarian and have them looked at. They can take an x-ray oftentimes, see where it is and follow it. If they aren't going to talk about doing something like removing it or scoping them, they may get a baseline. They can look and say it's in the stomach, come back tomorrow. They can re-x-ray and see if it's moving through. Anytime any of your animals, swallow something, or all of a sudden they start having vomiting or diarrhea or something like that, that's a time to bring the veterinarian. Something that is digestible, like a no-hide that has high digestibility, if the animal's not showing any signs, oftentimes they will break that down. So, and that's the whole point of having this high digestibility. So that's a really good question. Hi, Danielle and Blondie. Thanks for tuning in. All right, Melissa has a question. Melissa asks, my dog is very active and runs with us daily. She's been wearing rough wear boots to protect from snow and ice, but also calluses that break open and bleed. Any suggestions for her feet now that it's getting warmer? A lot of times them breaking open, having cracked feet things can be seasonal related, just like us, how your skin gets drier in the winter, obviously tougher surfaces, cold out, ice, the salt, all those things play a role. And oftentimes they will get better in the warmer months when it's not so harsh outside. But there are some topical balms that you can use out in the market that do work well on these kind of dry, cracked feet. But it is seasonal a lot of times. So if they, I'm a firm believer in using things if you have to and not if you don't. But again, there's a few kind of commercial balms out there that are specifically for pads and feet that you can look into and do a pretty good job in those warmer months, aside from when it's really cold and there's a lot of again, harsh salts and chemicals on the sidewalks and the streets and things like that. So Sally has a question. What about string type things? So Sally, just to clarify, do you mean if they ingest a string type thing, or is it something that they're not supposed to eat? And I'll answer it if you want to clarify if you mean something else. But I assume you mean what happens if they eat some sort of what they call linear item or a string type thing. But believe it or not, one of the most dangerous things that animals, dogs and cats can ingest, some of the most dangerous foreign bodies, if you will, is linear. Okay, string, twine. And a lot of people wouldn't think that. They think, okay, well, it just kind of balls up and goes through. But actually, oftentimes they can digest through the intestines and then accordion the intestines, and animals can run into trouble. Now, obviously, that's more of a problem oftentimes in cats, because cats can get into sewing boxes or get strings from gifts or ribbon from gifts or balloons. So it's always important, if you have cats in your household, you have to watch any sort of balloons with streamers. I've had cats on Christmas presents eat the elastic off the box of the Christmas present and have to. That was one Christmas that I spent doing a foreign body removal on someone's cat. But it's that's a good question, and it is they can be really dangerous, those linear foreign bodies. So it's definitely something you have to watch, and especially with cats. Carolyn has a question. You have a question. You have a puppy now, 7 months. She got 3 shots that puppies should have. I assume that's probably the distemper parvo vaccine. 7 months old. She had 3 shots. Again, probably the distemper parvo vaccine, but not rabies shot. Can I wait to get that shot? So, Carolyn, I think, obviously, vaccinations, something that you really kind of is very specific to each animal. We have protocols and things. If the puppy is healthy, has no other, it is just a normal 7-month-old puppy, you have to remember one of the things that rabies vaccines are law. Okay. So, yeah, I would say that, that at this point, I would recommend that your puppy gets a rabies shot. Yes. Now, again, that's if there's no pre-existing, if there's something else going on, they're sick for some reason from something else, each case is different. But I think, under normal circumstances, yes, I would absolutely have that done. Great. Great, Melissa. And thanks for the question. Dominique, can digestive enzymes help them pass things faster, toys, socks, etc.? I would say no. I think digestive enzymes can boost your body's ability to break down normal things that they're meant to break down. But as far as, when you have foreign bodies in there, it's more of a mechanical issue. It's more of these things. They're not small enough to move through. They move through very slowly. They can damage the intestines. You can get, it can be very serious. So I would say that, the first thing, if they do ingest some sort of toy or socks or something else like that, is to have them looked at by a veterinarian. Renee has a question. She says, she has a pug that she runs agility with. Any supplements or calcium additives for food or chew-wise I should be researching? Always wanted to strengthen his bones. We do lots of jumping. So, one of the things is, and I think, Renee, I think this is a great question for us to take offline at some point too, to send me, to email me at Earth Animal, and I certainly could talk to you about it, because there's a lot that goes into this question, age, body condition, how much you do. We always, you have to be very careful in all dogs, but especially dogs that are, that are doing things like agility and things. You don't want to over supplement them. So that can happen. So I think I'd be happy to talk to you offline about this, I think, because there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, and it's something too that I could always run by Dr. Goldstein, because he certainly has a vast amount of knowledge on all this stuff. I always like a good excuse to talk to Bob about anything, because I'm always fascinated by the knowledge that he has. And it's just, for me, it's a pleasure always to just sit and listen to him answer my questions. So any time I get to do that is great. All right, Patty. How can I get my dog used to cleaning his teeth with dental wipes? He won't let me do it at all. So again, Patty, it's one of those things that it's what I usually do is, and when I see puppies in my practice and we talk to people and we start to talk about teeth and things, and you have these tiny puppies that are going to lose all their teeth. And then, at 6 months old, and by 6 months old, they have a whole, all their adult teeth. I think what I talk to them about all the time is it's important to get your puppies used to really just, you want to touch in and around their mouth. Get them used to putting your fingers in their mouth and opening their mouth. Get them used to playing in their ears. Play with their paws. So it's something that just becomes natural. Like, this is what we're going to do. And usually with puppies and things, I'll start by just putting my fingers in their mouth and just kind of rubbing their gums, rubbing their teeth, opening them up. So by the time you're getting into the, and then you can add in whatever dental wipe or brushing or things like that. I usually recommend finger brushes. All right. Because I think, the finger brushes are just an extension of your fingers. So they're already used to that. And even if they're older and you haven't done it since a puppy, just start small. Start just putting your finger inside their lip and start with that. And as they get used to that, start rubbing their gums a little bit and just do it. It sometimes can take a lot of effort and a lot of time, but it's something that'll pay off in the end. All right. I hope that helped. 55-pound Samoyed at 7 months. Wow, Abby. That's great. That's great. Abby, another question about feeding the grain-free versus non-grain free. And, big hot topic right now. It's one of the things that we're actually going to spend a whole show on. And I think it's probably, honestly, and this is it's probably too in-depth to go into right now. We did talk about it a little bit last week, but sometime in the next 6 episodes, we're going to have an episode on that and talk about it. You're right. It is confusing. There's a lot of information out there that's not true. There's a lot of, but there is a lot of truth out there as well. So I think it's something that, again, we'll dedicate a whole Ask Our Vet on that. And hopefully we can answer all your questions then. All right. All right. I think that's it for questions. All right, so it is time for our spotlight. I don't have any video, so I apologize as I'm holding this up. If it's not straight or it's not crooked, I hope you can see it all. All right. Our spotlight for this week in week 5 of Ask Our Vet is Bon Appetit in Des Moines. All right. And one of the things that they opened in 2004, and one of the things we love about them is their number one goal is customer service and educating their consumers about the best products for their individual pets. They're also involved in Pet Pantry, which is great because it helps the neighbors in need keep their animals at home instead of populating our shelters. All right. So this is Bon Appetit. Again, they opened in 2004 in Des Moines, and now they have 3 stores. And they also are doing curbside pickup and free delivery as well. Okay, so please, everyone in that area, please support them. They're great. All right, and as always, we'll have a password every week, and so whoever is the first caller at each one of their 3 locations will get a $50 gift certificate, but they need to have the password of the week, okay? And keeping with our theme of our Earth Animal of the Week waffles, the password is oink. All right, so get on the phone, call the locations, and get your gift card, all right? Listen, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll do it again next week. We're going to do every week, we're going to do, again, right now we'll have a COVID update and talk to you about the latest. And each week we're going to do a different subject matter. And usually, and then once a month, we're just going to do an open forum like we did last week. So once a month, we're going to do just take your questions on a variety of topics. And so we have a few more weeks till that comes, but we'll do a topic every week. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to play a little more meters going out here because I think I'm digging the live music here. All right. So everyone have a great time. Stay safe. Have a great weekend.
Connected.
And we'll see you next week. All right, everybody. Bye.